said to me that the one time when you feel like you can't take any time off is the exact time where you need to take a break and relax, like, because that happens so much that people just think, right, I can't stop, I need to keep going. But at the end of the day, the business isn't going to implode, or it's not going to, the walls aren't going to come tumbling down if you don't send that email at 11 at night. Like, at the end of the day, it's not that important.
Welcome to another episode of the Burnt Chef Journal, hosted by myself, Chris Hall, the founder of the Burnt Chef Project. This week's guests are the boys from Fink Street Food. Fink Street Food is a social enterprise, a non-profit, similarly to the Burnt Chef Project, and they are on a mission to smash mental health stigma one bite at a time. Not only do these guys use all 50% of their profits to support mental health charities, projects and initiatives, but they also provide great quality food that gets people talking. Social enterprises like ours, they are fantastic businesses. They are great for giving back to the local community. And if you want to learn more, do listen to this episode, because these guys have got a great business model, an amazing ethos, and really, I believe that they're really setting the future for businesses within the hospitality industry. I really hope that you enjoyed this week's episode.
On the surface, we at Lamb Weston are a leading global frozen potato product provider, but hospitality is in our roots. We are helping to chip away the stigma of mental health in the industry and truly believe in wellbeing through potatoes, which is why we are in full support of the Burnt Chef Project. If you want to find out more about how we provide wellbeing through the humble potato, or try a free sample of our award-winning products, such as our proper British chips, the Dukes, follow us on Instagram at Lamb Weston UK.
Hi Chris, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, thank
really
you.
Well.
Good. A little bit late to the party. Oh yeah. Well, I've been looking forward to this one for a while. Obviously, we're both non-profits. We both operate to challenge the stigma of mental health. But I mean, firstly, I'd love for our listeners to learn a little bit more about sort of what you guys do in terms of your operation, why you got started, and really just to sort of hear your own individual stories as well. So I don't know, who wants to start. Lewis, James, go for it.
So should we give you a bit of a background to Fink to start with? As you said, we're a social enterprise, catering and a street food events provider. So we do street food markets, pop-ups at the likes of Blue Collar Food Market in Reading, various breweries. We have permanent pitches across Berkshire, essentially. And we're a business on a social mission to break down mental health stigma. And we're using the vehicle of street food and sort of communal events and shared food experiences to try and promote a positive mental health message. But on top of that, as you know, we put mental health at the forefront of everything we do. So we're using 50% of our profits to support mental health charities, initiatives and projects. I'm sure Lewis can give you a couple of insights into the couple of the charities that we support at the moment.
Yeah, well, obviously we started Fink just before the global pandemic, so it threw us up quite a bit. We have to change menus, find different ways of surviving and different ways of supporting charity, where in the early days we were building towards doing young people cookery classes with charities such as Young People and Children First. I think we managed to do one before lockdown took grip. And then since then, we started supporting local charities such as Woking Mind, and Number 5 Young People in Reading is our main point of call for the support that we provide. We're looking to do quite a lot with them going forwards. We've just done the Make It for May campaign with them, showing some of their ambassadors and people that follow that journey how they can cook at home and use food as a vehicle towards supporting mental well-being by doing that as groups together, as a fun way of, just in general bringing people together and chatting whilst doing something fun.
When COVID and social distancing subsides a bit, when we're allowed to, we're going to be doing these series of cookery workshops with them as part of our sort of social pledge, as a way of building self-esteem within a group of young people who feel a bit, misaligned with society. Some of them have got, they've got their struggles that they're going through, and cooking can be a real release for young people. And also, hopefully, we can discover some culinary talent and, help to nurture that a bit. And, learning something new is one of the NHS's 5 key steps to achieving mental well-being. So that's sort of what our business is based on, is trying to, connect people, encourage people to learn new skills, get back in the kitchen and come together to discuss mental health. So yeah, and supporting amazing charities like Number 5 and Young People and Children First is really important to that for us.
That's amazing. And what was it that gave you the idea for this concept? I mean, because effectively you could have just started up as a great business serving great food and not thought about giving away 50% of your profits, really. So where did that come from?
Well, I think, after university, me and James met at a graduate scheme for a large contract catering company. So we've been in the industry together for 30 years now. Not
30 combined, yeah.
Together,
I was
combined, yeah,
not that old.
But yeah, throughout that time combined, we've seen so many things, so many struggles that our colleagues and staff have all gone through. And it's, for me, most of what I've seen is a vicious cycle of sometimes living paycheck to paycheck, where you've got low pay and heavy demands, and it's a vicious cycle of further, constantly affecting mental well-being of those staff members. For example, I used to have a pot wash member in my team who was grief-stricken at one stage, but didn't let on to anyone else within his team. Broke down middle of service, and I had to send him home and just literally promise him that there would be no effective pay. Go and take the time out that you need. Go and deal with what you need to deal with. But he'd come to work regardless of the situation, because he just couldn't afford to be off, and he didn't want to tell anyone because he would have been forced to take time off. Probably that's what he feared anyway. And you just got to make people feel comfortable and know that it's okay not to be okay, and people around you to support you.
Yeah, and I think for myself, I grew up. My mum suffers severe bipolar disorder. So growing up as a kid, I was in and around mental health issues and seeing the devastating impact it can have on people, and also seeing firsthand the lack of true support that's out there. So mental health has been something that I've been really passionate about, not only raising awareness, but trying to change the focus beyond raising awareness, which is fantastic, but to be putting pressure on to reinstigate the services that people need to help them, because there's a real void there. So, and I think through those experiences, sometimes when I started working in kitchens, I go to work on a Sunday morning, and my mum hadn't got out of bed due to depression for 48 hours or even a week at sometimes. So it was really, really challenging, and that sort of has focused me to start a socially focused business. And as Lewis said, both of us were working in contract catering for, we worked for a large contract caterer for about 6 years together. And I moved in from an operationals role into a sales and marketing role, looking after a region for this company. And after about 3 years, I just realized that it was burning me out completely. And I wasn't passionate about it anymore. And the most important thing for me to do is to look after my own mental well-being. So I think that's what's good about Fink as well, is what we're trying to help other people with their own mental well-being, and raising awareness about how other people can look after their own health. But it's important for us as well. It's like we try and live it every day. We make decisions based on mental health quite a lot. We've been sat trying to do a rota for the next 2 months where we're like, oh shit, what are we? How are we going to deliver this? But for us, it's about getting more resource in and trying to look after, because we could easily say, right, we're going to do we're gonna work 80 hours a week here. We're gonna do all of these events by ourselves, but we know it's not sustainable because we've lived that through our experiences in previous industries.
Yeah, it's a fine line, especially as business owners, to tread in terms of being able to take on enough work so that you can scale the business and it can be a success, to realizing that actually you've just become a slave to it because you're throwing everything you've got in terms of your time and resources to keep it afloat. And you've got plenty of work offers coming in, but also at the same time it's a case of actually being selective about what you do and making sure that you take time for yourself. It's a real conflict, isn't it, at times?
It is. It's challenging, and I think for us it's about we've got a really strong team that we're super keen to support and make sure that they're not overworked as well. So striking the right balance between us four. There's four of us in the business working full time, which we've grown from the two of us when we first started doing every market. And yeah, making sure that they feel supported and are invested in the business is key as well, because as I say, we can't do everything ourselves.
Yeah. We're trying not to exceed sort of 4 days in a working week for our 2 staff members. We're also providing them with mental wellbeing days within their contracts, so that if they ever feel a time where they just need that time out, even if they've got a shift starting in a couple of hours, they can cash that in, and no questions asked, we'll make it work, because we've seen so many instances in workplaces where people will either just call sick or come into work and they're not in the right state of mind. That people do just need that time out. So we're trying to stick to a 4-day working week, not go crazy on the hours, so people have got that ample opportunity to spend time investing in themselves and their social lives and their loved ones and their relationships and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think one thing we try and like someone once said to me that the one time when you feel like you can't take any time off is the exact time where you need to take a break and relax, because that happens so much that people just think, right, I can't stop, I need to keep going. But at the end of the day, the business isn't going to implode, or it's not going to, the walls aren't going to come tumbling down if you don't send that email at 11 at night. At the end of the day, it's not that important.
Yeah, the world keeps spinning round at the end of the day. Things it's not gonna be disastrous if you do just take a step back and stop yourself from burning out. You need to look after yourself.
Chop the bottom third off the to-do list at all times. You look at the to-do list and chop the bottom third off, and everything becomes a lot more manageable.
Oh, do you know what? To-do lists, like the amount of times, and anyone in hospitality who's used to prep and writing lists will understand this. But when you're writing to-do lists and you get to the point where that to-do list just has no meaning anymore, because everything, it's not prioritized or anything, and you think, I could very easily screw it up and throw it away, but I know I need to action them off at some point, and then eventually that will get put underneath another to-do list, and then you'll pick up one point and drag it on top of the, and it's just a never-ending.
Generally, what I've started doing is just delete everything that's from the bottom half down is just gone, and then that will make its way to the top eventually when it becomes more important. So you just don't worry about the bottom half, and it'll get done when it needs to be done.
That's exactly the same method that I've not adopted. I've been forced into it. It's like, if it's important, it will come back up to the surface again at some stage. Like someone will remind you or chase you up, and if it's not, then and it does mean that sometimes you miss opportunities as well, doesn't it? Because there might have been like that golden opportunity that if you put a little bit more weight behind it, could have done something. But then if you weren't in a position to action off your to-do list items, then you're not going to be in a position to take on that that amazing opportunity, are you? Really?
Exactly. Yeah.
So things come back around, though. That's like, if you focus on the most important things, opportunities, they come and go. There's always going to be opportunities. Like in our first year of trading, we had a whole calendar full in boat races and events and all these kind of things that then just completely went out the window when the lockdown hit. And we're sitting here in May, and our calendar for the rest of the year is 90% full now. So things do come back around, new opportunities emerge, and there's always,
exactly, it's a good point.
There's always more things around the corner. So don't always have to be sad about missed opportunities.
Yeah, things ebb and flow, don't they? They ebb and flow back, and if you miss it, it's like a wave. If it doesn't catch you first time, it's going to catch you the second, and that's both in a positive and a negative. So it's an important thing.
Definitely.
And so, as a result of COVID, you guys have been sort of in a position where your business model's changed slightly. I mean, what's sort of been the key learnings from COVID for you guys, both as individuals and also business owners?
That's a very good question. I think when the pandemic first hit, it was all very, very, very daunting, and we both of us had just quit our fairly well paid full time jobs to start out on our own. But I think for me, I think the key learning was, you don't take on everything yourself. Like the fact that me and Lewis are business partners and we've got each other to rely on has been so important in terms of, just having someone to talk to bounce ideas off. And if one of us had tried to do this alone the last 2 years, we'd have been absolutely screwed, and we'd have completely burnt out. But trying not to take problems on your own shoulders the whole time is really important. I know a lot of business owners aren't in that position and are burdening a lot of troubles on their own shoulders, but doing it with
we've got a friend ourselves. There was 3 guys within our graduate scheme for our year, and the other one has done his own business, and he, the exact pressures that James was just talking about, he is under himself at the moment. He can't take a single day off. So
I hear that.
We're hearing from him the first-hand pressures of running a business by yourself and having to look after, not being able to take that day off and rejuvenate the battery, and the safe knowledge that your business partner has got things covered.
I think for us as well, the reason we're here doing well at the moment and have got a full calendar and are growing pretty rapidly is that people are connecting with the mental health message that we've got as well. It's really showed us that people want to purchase from socially focused companies, especially with an issue as broad reaching as mental health, which has been amazing for us, because to see people connect with where their money's going, being able to tell people that by buying lunch from us today, you're going to be funding mental health support services for young people, is amazing, and that's going to drive the business forward. It's really good to see, and that's one of the key ways in which we're supporting this charity called Number 5 Young People, based in Reading. Is they provide counselling services to kids who would otherwise not have the support, because Lewis and I were chatting earlier, and we read that 1 in 3 children with a diagnosed mental health problem doesn't have any support from the NHS, and there's a 17-week waiting list for these services. So there's a massive void that we're trying to do a little bit to fill by supporting charities such as Number 5.
Yeah, it's definitely it's an epidemic of massive proportions now, and I think that as a result of COVID, we've become more aware of the fact that mental health is something that we all have, and actually we're perhaps we're all susceptible to experiencing mental health issues or mental illnesses during our lifetimes, and it's made us realize that actually this is something that we need to start taking care of. But realistically, we're just not set up for it, as not just within the UK, but I think worldwide. I don't think that the topic of mental health has been so strongly stigmatized for the last couple of 100 years that we've never really been able to provide the support network for something that's growing faster than the many other things in the world at this moment in time, and it's become
definitely
a bit of a challenge,
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's why changing attitudes towards mental health is the first step, because we have to put pressure on on the government, on local healthcare services to put in the support they need, and changing attitudes and historical negative stigma, like you say, is really, really important to that.
It's also trying to help get big companies and small companies of all sizes to make a real investment in their staff's mental well-being. And whether that's through education or just spending an hour a week or whatever it is, in whichever way they can, approach the subject, and ensure their teams aren't suffering in silence or being a victim of, whatever it may be. But they can talk about it. They know how to deal with certain situations that may arise within their walk of life. So it's just getting companies to invest in their own mental well-being of their staff.
And that's a sort of catering avenue that we're looking at more and more in the future. We'll be providing sort of well-being themed lunch pop-ups and events for businesses. We've done them pre-COVID for the likes of Amazon and PwC, where we take along a guest speaker and we bring along loads of mental health resources to try and broach the subject of how we can tackle burnout in the workplace through something that's accessible, is in the food experience, because a lot of mental health advice that's given out is very clinical, it's sterile. Here are 5 things you can do to improve your mental well-being, and that's just on an NHS website. But is that really getting through to anyone? We took sort of inspiration from the likes of Calm, the campaign against living miserably, who use sort of cultural touch points like music and pop, just like you guys are doing, podcasts and sports events, to be able to use that as a method to get a really important message across, instead of just dictating to people or feeding people sterile information about mental health. It's the only way we're going to change attitudes if we get through to people in the proper ways.
Yeah, and I don't know whether or not you guys are feeling this, but I sometimes worry that there are so many of us talking about mental health and well-being at this current moment in time, and we know through history that this is something that ebbs and flows, and certainly around Mental Health Awareness Week and Mental Health Awareness Month. But do you feel that sometimes our message is getting a little bit lost in there's almost too much information out there sometimes when it comes to addressing mental health issues and the stigma surrounding mental health?
I think, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you can never talk about it too much, because getting the situation out there is very important. So especially our markets, even just having our signage up, our statistics, and you'd be amazed at the amount of people that just come up to our store and just say, well done. I've had struggles myself that, I only feel comfortable talking about now because I've been in a better place for the last 2 years. But they come up and have an honest conversation and go through their experiences. So I think what you were saying is absolutely correct. It's about making it approachable. What makes it easy to talk about, what makes it less stigmatized. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, use food experiences and take a bit of a softer approach to make people feel more comfortable about opening up.
So we always said that if we, at one of our markets, if one person comes up, and, we have like scannable QR codes on our thing, which can take people to resources. If one person comes to our market and goes away and thinks, actually, I need to do something about my mental well-being. We want to. The key thing we're trying to get across is that mental health, your own mental health, is a project that you need to work on every day, and you need to take time to consider how you're feeling and why you're feeling it. And if we can just help one person do that, maybe turn around and say, actually, today I'm not okay, and I need to do something about it, or I need some support. That's amazing for us, and that's what we were set out to do when we first started Fink, really.
Have you had many people come back to you, like post conversations or post introductions to the subject of mental health, and gone, actually, do you know what? Thanks, guys. That I've done this, or I've made these changes, and it's impacted me in a positive way.
Not as yet from the stalls. Obviously, we're very, very early days with the stalls, and we have got an interactive food truck coming in August, which will hopefully get people engaging more and more, and feel that you'd be able to go. We have got I think our best interaction that we have is our Beat the Stigma board, which we have a talk board on the side of our stall, where people can write their goodwill messages to each other and share positive messages, and that has a lot of interaction. We have about 6 or 7 people write on that at every market, And then what we do when it's full up is to ensure that more people can add their messages is we photograph it or post it on our Instagram and then wipe it so it can be, a constant journey throughout it. So then we've got a storyboard of the business as we go forward through goodwill messages.
Quite a lot of our customers say that they've come to us specifically because they've experienced mental health problems themselves, and they think it's really refreshing that there's a food business that's focusing on supporting mental health issues, and that's really great for us to see.
Yeah, I asked out of curiosity because we get the odd message of people from saying that the service has been good or we've had positive feedback, but the majority of the time, the ironic thing about what we do is that most of the time you don't know who you're helping and who you're not, because this it's again stigma, but also it's one of those weird things, isn't it? It's like, oh, actually you don't know what was an immediate help and what was going to help a year down the line.
I think what's nice for us is that because we're using our profits to support charities in delivering support services, there's a sort of measurable benefit to us as well in seeing the sort of the number of hours that have been of counselling that have been delivered. I was chatting to a lady called Carly from Number 5 Young People in Reading, and she was saying that so far that our funding has helped support 16 young people have 15 weeks of counselling, which is amazing to see, and to be able to relay that message to the customers who come and buy lunch from us every week is really, really good.
That's amazing. That is really good, especially with private counselling services being so. I don't like the term expensive because they are valuable, but they are, I think, certainly for staff within the hospitality industry, they can be quite cost prohibitive sometimes.
Yeah, totally. And it's nasty to see that it's it's become a tiered. Being access to mental health shouldn't be based on mental health support shouldn't be based on how much money you earn. That's just crazy. It's part of our health, and the fact that it's so underfunded is pretty scary, I think. But hopefully that as attitudes.
If you have an emergency, you've got any directly there for you. But like James was saying, with the 1 in 3 having the 13-week waiting list, it's far too long. We need to invest in that to reduce that down to, it should be immediate help. It should be within a day. It should, there should be somebody to talk to as soon as possible and come up with a plan of, what is causing the burden, what is weighing you down, and how can you help relieve that to improve your own mental well-being, or if you're worried about someone else, get the right advice on how to help them. Because a lot of people struggling with depression or, ill mental health sometimes they don't want to be helped. They just close up and they don't want to talk about it. So it's finding the right advice to be able to approach that in a way that they feel comfortable to talk to you and open up about what they're really feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons why we put in place the Burnt Chef Support Service, is because there was no immediate, even some EAPs, they're quite taxing to get through to, because you have to submit your details and wait, and you want to make it as easy as possible so there's no barriers to entry. So if someone does suddenly feel that they either have no other choice, or they do feel suddenly comfortable to be able to speak to someone, that they can do so quickly and efficiently. Just because even just sharing the problem is, as you guys probably know through your own journey and speaking to customers, sometimes they just people just like to get things off their chest, and that in itself, you can almost see the load lighten and be lifted from people, can't you, really?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what both Lewis and I definitely felt when I left a job that was burning me out to start something that was more well-being focused. That it was like a burden had been lifted on me, and I went back and did some part-time work for the same company, and they said that I seemed like a different person, and I hadn't consciously thought about how different I was going back, having started Fink and when I was full-time and working myself to the bone. Well, we're still doing that now, but at least we're doing it for the right reasons.
We can see the end product now We can see the tangible result of the work that we're putting in, though, which often gets lost within a larger company, where you can achieve every objective and every target set for you, but then, you know, someone might just, you know, say one bad thing, like, you know, you should smile more, and that'll be the only thing that eats away at you that evening.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing that you just said there, which is that you could achieve every target that was set for you, compared to what you guys are doing as creating your own targets and your own destination. And so it's again, this is where the subject of mental health and mental illness becomes so difficult, is that you can have two people both working their asses off, both doing 60-hour weeks in an environment that's quite tough and like highly stressed, but one's flourishing and one isn't. And sometimes it is just there's those changes, isn't it, where do I feel part of this organization? Do I feel like I belong? Mm-hmm. Do I feel secure? You know, are things going on well at home, but also am I having a say in my workload, and do I feel resilient to cope with it? And it's all these. This is what makes this conversation so tricky, because every single situation is different and unique to that individual, that business.
Everyone experiences mental health in different ways. Exactly right. I'm sure, you know, someone in our position now would, you know, the stress of owning our own business. If I think the fact that we try and invest in our mental health, you know, on a daily basis, you know, practicing mindfulness, making sure we take the right time out and things like that, is sort of equipped us, we hope, to deal with the stresses of running a business. But we can only do that because of the sort of engaging, you know, in the mental health community and learning more about it and understanding coping mechanisms and stuff like that, which is really something we try and do. But I think that's where we need to get to across the board. Everyone needs to, as a society, we need to understand how we can all improve our mental well-being to build resilience, as you say.
Yeah, it's. I mean, again, there's so many angles, isn't it? It's not just about resilience. It's not just about, you know, learning, because it's also education as well. Like, we never ever, when you enter school, you were taught that your lungs are connected, you know, they provide oxygen to your blood and your heart, and these are how best to look after these. And if you smoke, it'll make your lungs bad and all this other stuff. But I don't ever remember being taught that, you know, if you're living on a diet of fatty foods and you're constantly putting your body through stress, you're going to end up ill.
Yeah,
that was never part of my curriculum.
That is something we do struggle with, though. You know, being out on the road all day and having very irregular meal times, the diet goes out the window quite quickly. But we had to make it conscious, because when we first started, we were eating so much crap. But now we've had to make a conscious effort to get off that. And because we do really, as part of our menu, we do really nice meze salad boxes, which is Middle Eastern style salads. So those are instead of the loaded fries option that we do as well, we try and have more of the salad boxes.
Yeah, it doesn't taste good. I mean, it does taste as good. Let's challenge the stigma on healthy eating. It does taste just as good. I think that you have to. I think what the reality of it is that we're stuck in a rut, aren't we? Mm-hmm. You have to make active changes to improve your overall well-being, whether that's exercise, diet, whatever it might be, mindfulness. But you actively have to put effort behind it to change patterns of behavior.
Totally.
We found that within our menu as well. Like, we started with falafel burgers back in the day, and I think we changed that menu because of lockdown. You know, we needed a solution which was deliverable whilst we were locked, like, you know, not able to trade.
Delivery, yeah.
But that, you know, that was one of the best things that happened. So things happen for a reason. Like, we changed our menu because of lockdown, and we're now in a place where we're really happy with the menu and the food that we're serving. Whilst the burgers are still an event option, our day-to-day markets is now meze salad boxes, loaded fries, wraps. And if somebody asks for a recommendation, we try and push them towards the meze box, because we know that they'll have a better impact on their end of day feeling.
We do have a massive wrap that we've called the unit after we made it as a sort of menu hack for someone, and he just said that is an absolute unit. So it became known as the unit. And for everyone we sell, we donate £1 to Calm on top of the 50% donation that we 50% pledge. So that's good. That's gone really well and helped a little bit of extra funds for Calm to help deliver their services, which is good.
I like that, the unit. As long as he didn't trademark it before he walked away, it was like, yeah, that's mine. And for every burger you sell, every wrap you sell, you have to pay me a fiver.
It's just having fun with the work that we do. Like that, the guy that came up with the name, like we wouldn't be in the position that we are without the business that he runs, which is the Globe Pub in Newbury. Like we can't even put into words how unbelievable their kindness has been to supporting us. When they learnt of our mission and what we stand for as a company, they've given us their kitchen within their pub to basically operate from as a hub, and most of the position that we're in now and the amount we've been able to donate from a profit perspective is down to their kindness. And it's very much from being now business owners, it's very much community over competition, which we're learning on a day by day basis. Like it's, community is the heart of everything that you can do good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really, really awesome pub in Newbury, and the guys have been really special to us. But it's been pretty challenging to see what they've been going through over the last. I think they only got their doors open last week when the new when the restrictions were lifted for indoor dining. But yeah, been pretty horrible to see up close and personal what pub owners and restaurant owners have been going through. I mean, we've been probably slightly luckier, or we have been luckier, because being a street food business, our fixed overheads were less than a traditional restaurant. But whatever we can do to support those guys now as well is part of our mission as well, because they've looked after us so well.
Well, I think that's what hospitality is all about, though, isn't it? It's a sense of community and being able to look out for each other, and I certainly feel that that's one of the things that hospitality has done well over the last sort of 5-10 years or so, where there's definitely that. It's less competitive now and more like we're in this together, and I think COVID has certainly reinforced that message as well. So especially with the current climate and staff shortages being what they are at this moment in time, you'll all need to band together and help each other as much as we can, really.
Definitely.
So what's next for you guys then? Obviously you've got a pretty full on season.
So what have we got going on? We are in the process of launching the UK's first social enterprise food truck, which is going to be a pretty special bit of kit, we hope. It's we've taken a Luton low loader van, and it's getting sent to a chop shop, and it's going to be covered in neons and TVs and mental health awareness messaging and stuff like that, which we're hoping to launch in August. And a little bit of a shameless plug here, but we're going to be launching a crowdfunder to help us get it over the line in mid-June. So keep an eye out for that, guys, if you're listening. But it's all underway, and it's going to be pretty special, we hope.
Yeah, it should look spectacular. We were nominated for the Most Sustainable Street Food Trader Award last year at the British Street Food Awards, and that was months after just launching. So we're hoping to go back in with a bang with the food truck and show off our food the next time. But it was really nice that they recognised that sustainability isn't just from a environmental aspect. It's it's well-being as well. It's recognising the work that we can all do together to help improve mental well-being within our workplaces and communities.
I think the food truck's also going to double up as our sort of our hub, where we're going to do these cooking workshops for young people and young care leavers in the Reading area. So that's going to be quite fun to have people be able to come after a market, and we can do a demo, or we can do a simple. The last thing we did for the guys was we went to Young People and Children First, who provide sheltered housing for young care leavers, 18 and over, who typically, when you turn 18, you're out and you look after yourself, which is quite challenging for people who don't have the support. So we popped up in the garden of their house, and we did these cooking workshops, and we did sort of healthy tacos. We called it Bang Bang Vegan Tacos, showed them how to make it. Fully costed out, made it accessible for those guys. So that's the sort of thing that we're going to be doing from the food truck going forward, which is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, because it'll have interactive screens and stuff like that. So whereas we're limited to our printed messaging, we'll be able to actually do a rolling slides of statistics and things that people can relate to. So we'll be able to get a lot more information out there. And, even whilst we're out and about on the road, people will be able to engage with, what they're seeing and see us from a further distance, really. And it will have like Beat the Stigma in neon lights underneath the hatch. And, you look up and, people will be able to engage with it a lot more than the marquee that we're currently running from.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Like we need to make enough noise about this particular subject matter. So why not put it in neon lights and drive that around the country?
Neon solves all.
Yeah.
Neon. Yeah. I don't know what the answer or the question was, but the answer is neon. Ultimately, that's amazing.
So that means we're going to be sort of two places at once, which means the team's going to be growing at the end of the year as well, which is daunting and equally as exciting. But making sure we've got the resource in the business so we're not all working 7 days a week is key as well, as we mentioned earlier, which is a challenge, but one we're going to have to meet.
It's tough though, isn't it? Like, as a social enterprise, and the term social enterprise and non-profit gets banned around a lot, but what people don't understand is, as a non-profit, as an actual registered non-profit, and there are a lot of people out there who are just limited trading companies, trading as not-profits, doing good for the community. But as a actual registered non-profit, we have to submit our reports at the end of the year to a board to be able to show them that what we're doing is good, and also that all of our finances have complete clarity of sight. So anyone at any particular time can check what our trading history has been and what we've spent money on, so that they know that we're not getting wealthy. And I think that, I don't know about you, I don't know, perhaps it is just because of the scope that we've got, but often enough we tend to get challenged a lot about that. And I don't think people understand the concept of non-profit. And it's hard. It is hard to run a business knowing that, I mean, in our case, 100% of the profits go to achieving the goal that we set out. And it's difficult to run a business knowing that in the back of your mind, you've always got to have that money to achieve the goal.
Yeah. I think for us, connecting our customers with where our profits are going is important, as I said, through these various engagement and, our online blogs and our yearly social impact report and things like that. But I think for us as well, to be able to achieve our aims, that we have to have a strong business, and that means driving profit into the business to be able to make investment and grow, so we can meet more people. And the food truck is a key part of that. It's going to be the foundation of our business for the next 10 years to come, to drive the profit that we can further funnel into these charities. So but I think we will, over the next few years, see a lot more social enterprises flourishing. As Social Enterprise UK have launched this Buy Social pledge with, I say 100 of the UK's biggest businesses who have pledged to support more social enterprises in their supply chain. So I think it's going to become a more familiar term, and I think we'll see more and more social enterprises flourishing. And there's some awesome food social enterprises out there already. Luminary Bakery who support women who have fallen on tough times from violence and things like that, and Karma Cola, those sort of people. And I think it's going to become more and more mainstream.
One of our old bosses, who's probably one of the best managers I've had, has just launched a social enterprise called Fika and Bloom, Ed Walker, and that's supporting people from the Salvation Army getting back into employment and using coffee as a vehicle to, giving people tangible skill sets to go and get employment in new areas that they might not have had the opportunity to before. And that's getting people into our industry, an industry which is facing a skill shortage in the coming years that we're seeing in chefs at the moment, but that's going to be very much front of house also in the near future.
And I think it's a natural progression from, maybe 5-10 years ago, there was this huge renewed focus on the provenance of ingredients and where the quality of sourcing. And I think this is the next step. It's the social impact of your sourcing as well, and also the environmental impact on what footprint it has on the planet and what good footprint it can also have. So that's, I think, the essence of social enterprise, really.
Exactly. And I'm about to record a video this week to try and raise some public awareness for what goes on behind the scenes within hospitality, because I think that at some stage I would very much like to put an accreditation in place whereby the public vote with their feet based on how that business, we choose to eat places because of environment or sustainability, or, whether we're celiac or got certain dietary requirements. But at the moment, we don't choose to eat. I mean, you're living proof that people do choose to eat based on, the impact of the staff or the overall well-being of communities. So at some stage, we're looking at implementing an entire scheme. Well, we've started work on it already, an entire scheme to be able to actually put stickers on windows so that the general public can go, I'm going to choose to eat here because I know that they've hit this framework and the staff are tested in terms of like how happy they are, how content they are, how their well-being is being, looked after and maintained. And I think that could be quite interesting for businesses.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
No, it's an incredible idea because, within our industry, obviously we've got hygiene standards to reach and ensure, and we get marked out of 5 on that. So the way we treat our staff and how we spend our profits should also equally be able to be plastered with pride or shame, whichever way you look at it, on the front of your business, and give the customers that information that they need, because they often don't have all the facts and figures behind where all the business monies goes.
Yeah. And it is tough out there, hospitality, running a business in hospitality is the margins can be slim at times, especially when you're under resourced and you might be experiencing high turnover at certain times of the year. But I think that, the more that we start educating people that by investing in their people, they're going to end up in a healthier position, both in terms of their resources, but also in terms of their profit margins, then you'll soon start to see a flourish of businesses who are all adapting and changing, so that actually they base a menu on like the level of stress that it provides rather than the accolade that they're chasing. How nice would it be to say, right guys, how stressed is it going to be, like at max capacity, to do this menu? Oh, well, that's going to be very difficult. I will cross that off.
I read somewhere that, or someone once told me that in the contract catering industry, which was our previous work, the cost of recruiting and training a new starter is around £5,000, which is just a hell of a lot of money. And you think staff turnover is an absolute killer, and the impact on the business when a key sort of linchpin of your team leaves or gets burnt out, which is why we've been planning our new staffing structures for the next year or so, and trying to we've committed to paying fairly good salaries to make sure that people want to stay in the business and work with us, and make sure that they feel properly rewarded and properly sort of part of the team, because we know as our business is only as good as the team that we've got on the ground. So if they decide that they've had enough, we've got a calendar of events that me and Lewis we have to deliver all ourselves, which will be interesting.
I can see the look of fear on both of your faces.
Oh Christ, yeah.
But no, you are right. Like retention, we've done some research that actually mirrors what you've just said in terms of the cost of advertising, hiring, wastage, payroll, everything else like that. And we've just partnered with a company called People4. They're like a data tool company. And so what we're able to do is now survey like multi-site operations and pinpoint exactly where stress and pinch points are within that business, but also attribute a cost per person to that as well. So even for those business owners who are doing it as a cost-saving exercise, we'll then be able to see, well, actually, we know that 30% of our staff within the front of the house in this particular site are experiencing close to burnout. And the reasons for that is because of work-life balance or salary or not feeling like they're being listened to. And the cost of that is £4,000 per person or £16,000.
And how do you measure that? How do you measure that someone's close to burnout? Is that through sort of employee surveys or that sort of thing, or it's a very hard thing to measure, I suppose?
It's a 20-minute survey that covers a lot of different things in terms of behaviours and environment, and asks all these sort of it's very the survey is not clinical in the way that you fill it out, but it's backed by clinical psychologists and a whole breadth and width of data in the background. So it compares it and cross-references it to other industries as well. So what happens then is that the report comes through for an individual and says, these are the areas that you've reported to be struggling with. It might be sleep, or that you are experiencing financial difficulties and that's causing you worry, or that you're underskilled in your job and you don't feel that you're able to perform. And then it will signpost them to ways of addressing these issues, whether that's the Burn Chef support service, whether that's outsourcing the training. And then the report on the flip side then provides the operational teams to say, well, these are the areas that are reported across your teams. And as a result, you can go down by gender, you can go down by location, team, and then it will attribute a very reserved cost per person and a cost per business as a result of inactivity. So it'll say, well, this is what actually at this moment in time, if you were to fix, you would save 60,000, or in one instance £1 million, just by addressing this one issue. And then it will compare you, as I say, to other industries as well. So it might look at it and go, well, actually, you're rating a C when other industries in this particular area, like work-life balance, might be like a B or an A. And some of the things aren't going to necessarily match up because we know that the industry is quite unique, but then there are going to be certain things that might be staring us blindly in the face that we've missed completely. But for the first time, it puts like you were saying about your well-being days, it puts a cost on presenteeism. So it will say this percentage of your workforce are coming in, they're not well. They're not performing efficiently because they're not happy, they're mentally or physically drained. And as a result, it's costing you. The impact is like in terms of customer fallouts, in terms of mistakes at work, it's costing you this much money. And so for the first time, it puts some tangible pricing to something that up until now has just been like an estimation.
Totally. Yeah, and that's what's going to drive change. Is you need something measurable and black and white that you can see. This is why we need to change. And a lot of businesses won't make decisions on things that you can't measure. So that's a really, really good idea.
It's just one of the other things that we need to do as social enterprises to try and get our message out there. And, again, it will work for a handful of people, and then there'll be a completely different message that works for another, whether that's a celebrity endorsement or whether that's a podcast or a neon truck. Like, honestly, there's so you just have to constantly pivot and diverse and try and get the same message out. So in terms of if people were looking to try and find you guys, like where would they need to head on social media to be able to follow your journey and view the work that you do?
Well, our Instagram is Fink Street Food. That's probably the vehicle that we use the most to communicate where we're going to be each week. Usually between 4 and 6 locations a week at the moment. And just keep your eyes peeled. We'll be launching our crowdfunding soon, and we've got our interactive food truck coming. And we're also on Facebook and our website as well, which James will give you.
Yeah, it's www.eatfinktalk.com. We've put our regular mental health blogs on there as well, and we go into a bit more detail of how we support number 5 young people, and you can read about our sort of services for young care leavers as well, and also about our plans for the future as well.
That's cool. And any final bits of advice or sort of worldwide awareness that you can provide to our listeners, or that you want to impart?
Don't judge yourself by your own expectations that you set when you left for university. It's probably my bit of advice. Things happen naturally, and they happen when they're supposed to happen. We will have some good news coming in the next couple of months, which maybe we wanted to achieve 5 years ago, but the fact is that it gets achieved eventually. Just enjoy yourself and what you're doing, and that will make you feel good within yourself, and it'll make you a better person to those around you. Totally.
And I echo those thoughts completely. Yeah, when you leave university, you think, right, I need to climb that greasy ladder as soon as possible. I need to be making serious bank by 30. But at the end of the day, that's not the be all and end all. And doing something that you're passionate about is far more important, and doing something that you care about is way more important than, to us anyway. It might not be important to other people, but that's the learnings that I've taken over the last 5, 6, 10 years for sure.
It's, yeah, I love that. I was chatting to a chef who is turned a yoga teacher, plus also an alpaca shearer and a whole host of other professions. And he said one thing he said to me was, wealth isn't measured in currency or money; it's measured in happiness.
That's great.
I think that's quite profound, isn't it? And if anything, COVID has taught us with furlough scheme and everything else is that actually you could have all the money in the world, but if you're not content, then it makes no difference.
Totally. What's the point? Yeah.
Good job.
Because society
good job the
deems it
margins
to
in
be
street food are tiny.
Well, I know. This is what I said. I mean, Christ, I gave up a sales and marketing manager position to do this, and people are like, "Oh yeah, you're making profit for yourself, and you must drive a nice car." And I'm like, "No, I swapped in my BMW 5 Series for a banged up Mazda, like that smells of a granddad, like." And I sit in a drafty, cold office. It's cold even during the summer. Like, yeah, there's no money.
Yeah, we do question it on a cold February when you're setting up at 7 a.m. in -6, and surely no one's coming out to eat street food today. What are we doing here?
I think our bottom moment was we do in peak lockdown, and still now we were doing 100 meals for the homeless every Tuesday at New Beginnings in Reading, which we now do bi-weekly, just so we can fit it in with our calendar still. And there was one day, I can't remember when it was last year at some point, but it hailed, the heaviest I've ever seen it hail, and one of the legs just snapped on the side of the marquee. And there we are standing just with a broken marquee, which, we need to be able to work, and our spirits were destroyed. We were soaking wet, nearly got hypothermia.
I do think humour has got us through a lot of these situations, though, because we have done some shocking events where we've turned up and, when you're in the driving rain, and it's just, but having someone to have a laugh with all your staff as well, it's not the be all and end all. You win some, you lose some. That's our motto. We've got a funny saying that we use when we first started, because we did so many dud events when we first started. We're like, at the end of it, we'd be like, "Oh, it's all just good experience." So whenever we have a dud event now, it's just all good experience. And
exactly, providing you're learning from it. If you keep going and that leg keeps snapping off time and time again, then you have to question your decisions. But yeah, it's a good point. Every journey and every, I don't know what's a positive term for failure. Every challenge.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah,
challenge.
It's an opportunity for growth, and you often tend to find that you grow quicker. Like, if everything goes right all the time, you never grow, do you? Like, you have to make mistakes and feel hardship to be able to learn and to develop. So
yeah, we've made our fair share, but I feel like we're past the sort of newbie days of a couple of years ago when we were making every mistake under the sun. But that's the really good thing about the street food community as well, is your other traders who you trade next to are really supportive as well. We've learned a lot from people who have been doing it a lot longer than us and been really supportive and welcoming. So it's been really good though. Great learning curve, but it's a great industry to work in, and being outdoors as well is good for our own mental well-being as well. Not being cooped up all day and getting out and about is really good. It's that variety that I think people need sometimes as well.
Definitely. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me today, and I'm sure our listeners would love to check you out as well, because it's very topical, but also there's food involved. So please, if you do find Fink, and it's Fink, check them out, and go visit their store and say hi. But guys, James, Lewis, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much. Great to speak to you.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you for having us on. Bye.
No worries. See you later. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Burnt Chef Journal. We'll be back again next week with another episode, but in the meantime, if you wanted to learn more about the Burnt Chef Project, please head over to our website, www.theburnchefproject.com, where we have a range of merchandise which is designed to create awareness. We offer training modules, we also provide support services, and also you'll find access to our online app, which is free to use internationally. Do feel free to give us a follow and a like on social media, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.